Hello and thanks for joining us on Africa Independent Television, AIT. Welcome to Democracy Today. I am Ijoma Osamo. I know you may have heard that a federal high court in Abuja has dismissed the suit filed by the All Progressives Congress, APC, and its governorship candidate, that's in the 2020 governorship election, Osaige Izeyamu, challenging the election of Governor Godwin Obaseki as governor of Edo State. The Justice Ahmed Mohammed, in his judgment on Saturday, held that the plaintiff has failed to prove the case of forgery beyond reasonable doubt and therefore dismissed the case. Let's quickly go to take some of the lawyers who spoke to our correspondents today in court.
Well, the judgment was not unexpected. We always had the confidence that the fact and the law was on our side, but then we needed to go through with the trial process. And luckily, the judge dispassionately considered the cases presented and came out, in my view, and in our view, on what was the right decision. So we are quite happy and elated, and we hope that this will put to rest this issue of certificate saga that is resuscitated every electoral cycle. Because it's been on 2016, they did the same thing. Anytime Obaseki raises his head to contest an election, they raise up the issue of certificate scandal. So now it's been put to rest, and we hope that everybody will allow the man to carry on the act of governance.
What we have just said this afternoon is victory for democracy and the triumph for the rule of law. It has demonstrated that Obaseki is our governor, and we are saying that at this stage and after this judgment, we are appealing to the other side to join hands with us for us to develop Edo State.
Yes, this is victory for democracy. At least the governor has demonstrated fully that he is qualified to become the governor of Edo State academically. I advise my friends in the other party to rest and give peace a chance. Let them support the governor to develop Edo State. And that is what is expected of any meaningful person. We thank you, the press, for the coverage of this matter. God bless Nigeria. I'm Right Honorable Barrister Friday Tula, two-time Speaker, Edo State House of Assembly, two-times member, House of Representatives, Abuja. I'm a lawyer.
Governance. As lawyers, of course, we are quite happy.
The court did not award cost against the...
No, we will not have. We had the client's direct instruction not to ask for cost, because he also wants to encourage the people to come and join him in the act of developing the state. So even though they put us to avoidable expense, they dragged us from Benin to Port Harcourt, from Port Harcourt to Abuja, but we followed them, and here we are today. So gentlemen, that's the end. Thank you.
Well, the lawyers there talking, and we tried to speak to some of the lawyers of APC, but it seems we couldn't get them. That's what I got to. This shall be our issue. We'll also be looking at the reaction from the state capital. Once we're able to get their reaction, we'll bring them to you. But now let's quickly let you know that I have one of the lawyers with me in the studio. It is Barrister Andrew Emata. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Ijoma, and good evening to our viewers this evening.
And we'll also be joined by the then spokesperson, the national chairman of media, I think so, as at that time, to the Edo State governorship election of the APC, Honorable Claire Tussle. Claire Tussle will be joining us via telephone from Ogoja, his home in Cross River State. We'll be talking to him to tell us the position of the APC at the moment. So let's just find out from you. We've listened to some of the lawyers. What was different from today's judgment?
Thank you. What, of course, is different is the fact that a journey that started over 4 years ago has been decided on its merits. The judgment was based on the merits. The governor presented this time around the originals of all the certificates, because it happens to almost everybody. At times you may be looking for some of your documents, and the law even provides a forum or provides the platform. You can go to court to depose to an affidavit. So they rode on the technicality in that particular affidavit that the governor deposed to in 2016, whereby instead of the time the governor entered the university, which was in 1976, 79 was the time he graduated. Instead of saying 79, it was just a misplacement of the dates of his admission as the date of his graduation. But of course, the certificate was presented. The year of graduation was clearly stated in the certificate. So, but this time around, in the process of photocopying, certain features did not appear, right? And knowing fully well that this man has his certificate, even when he was in the APC, he presented all these documents. Unfortunately, because of the acts the ex-white national chairman had to grant with Godwin Obaseki, he was wrongfully disqualified, even after presenting all the certificates. So what they started, I mean, at that time it was PDP. The matter went as far as the Supreme Court, but because they didn't bring the action within time, so the action was statute barred. But the beauty of this present decision was that the court looked at the entire facts and realized that these people were on a white goat chase. This man presented his originals. The university was even invited. They said the original he presented is their document. He is a graduate of the University of Ibadan. They produced evidence of his point of entry and even the brochure of his graduation and said that his certificate belongs to the university. And you know, in law, the burden of proving allegations rests on the person who goes to court. In this case, the plaintiff. And the court said the plaintiff in this case, that's one William Edobor, and the APC failed to discharge that burden, which the law imposes on them. And in the case of forgery, which was the allegation in this case, it is proof beyond reasonable doubt. That was the standard. And they woefully failed to discharge that burden. And the court even went as far as giving an illustration that the allegations they made, even when the governor presented his originals, the university came to say, this is our document, was akin to a person making a false allegation against someone that he has no father, even in the presence of his father, that he has no father.
All right, let's quickly go to, I told you earlier that Honorable Tussle will be joining us all the way from Abuja, his home state and his community. Now, let's quickly join him via telephone. Thank you very much, Honorable Tussle, for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me once again on this very thorny issue.
Okay. So what would be your reaction to the judgment from the courts today?
Well, I will say this to you. On the basis of the documentation from the University of Ibadan, nobody can forge that statement from the university. It is our certificate, we gave it to him. To that extent, the judge was correct. To that extent, that the University of Ibadan owned that is our certificate. The judge is perfect in making that decision, and his opinion is right. That ruling is correct. But what Nigerians must know, and which is what the United States of America is today proving, is that our jurisprudence and our institutions must get beyond that point where you look at facets rather than the holistic definition. I heard the barrister there telling you that they looked at the point of entry and came to that conclusion. Between the point of filling from EC1001, that is the intentment, that is the documentation on the biodata of the candidate, and the actual certificate, which will amount to perjury, which you are given 14 days to prove if you get into the electoral tribunal. We ask you, was Obaseki at the point of entry to the University of Ibadan qualified? If he was, by his own proclamation and by his own declarations and by his own documentation before INEC, did the document he presented show that he was qualified at the time from the educational center where he wrote for GCE? And that point, was he correct? So I will say these two things quickly so that the people don't get confused about it. The people having agreed that it is their certificate, that is University of Ibadan, the judge was correct. But having not avowed his mind to the probative value, of his declarations as to his qualification to enter the University of Ibadan, If the University of Ibadan was misled into believing that he was qualified to be their student, then he has a case to answer. And I think the upper court will take that decision. But for now, having abided their minds only to the point that the University of Ibadan says, this is our student, I would rather this certificate is our own. To that extent, this judgment is infallible. I will tell you that. So we are not going to discuss politics because it will be another person tomorrow. It can be me, it can be one that's sitting with you in the studio. But I ask you, having gone to the university, graduated, and you're a lecturer, and somebody come and say you didn't go to university, it's a different matter. But you lied for you to qualify for the university to give you admission. That is where the problem is. The issue of perjury. Did you lie on oath when you said you had 5 credits to qualify you? As at 1975, our system did not permit anybody with 3 credits. If you are going there on probation, they will tell you that after 1 year, give us your 5 credits. If after that you don't get, you are thrown out of the university. Did Obaseki at the point of entering the University of Ibadan have 5 credits? If he didn't have, they give him a probative period. If that probative came and he did not get it, and as at 2016, he declared that he was qualified to enter University of Ibadan in 1975-76. Is it correct? I give you the perfect example of the comedian in America, who after 40 years, he was proven to have lied and have also committed a crime with children, pedophile. 40 years after, crime has no deadline, and the lawyer in that studio will tell you that if at any time in your life you are proven to have lied or have committed a crime, crime has no expiry date. Once you are proven, you go and pay for it. So we are saying, could Obaseki, after lying in 1974, be freed in 2021 simply because time has elapsed? Did he qualify to be a candidate? That matter will be taken to the next level. And like I said, please get me right. I'm not speaking because it is Obaseki or APC or PDP. I am saying our jurisprudence, our court, our legal system must come to a point where people don't benefit from crime and the proceeds of crime. The world is drifting away from that. And that's why people like Trump are paying the price in America.
All right, sir.
But karma will always come. And I think this is the point where the Obaseki case, our courts must have to take that decision.
Okay, Honorable, let me ask this question, because I know that it is the case you take to court that the court will hear. This issue of perjury that you're talking about, where you said Obaseki lied why he went for an admission in 1976 or 75 to University of Ibadan. Is that part of what was taken to court at this time?
It was not just taken to court, it is one of the 3 pillars upon which that allegation was made. That having not qualified, I remember Justice Adamu in the appeal court Calabar Division in 2004 said it is consequential that having said you got a degree, the presumption is that you must have written WAEC and gotten the requirements for you to get a degree. It was the case of Donald Duke versus Obiudu. In that case, Justice Adamu then, sitting as the presiding judge of the appeal court in Calabar, said that you cannot say you wrote WAEC when you didn't register for WAEC, or you can't say you had a degree when you didn't write WAEC. That it is an anathema. It is an aberration. So we are asking that having told people and having filled a form to show that you had a degree, it means that before then, a priori, ab initio, you wrote qualified and passed 5 credits that JAM, and at 1975 there was no JAM. At 1973-74, there was no JAM. Universities got their own certificate. And they will say, even today, there's a column in JAM Procure that says waiver. That is to say, if you want to read law, literature is compulsory. They tell you, ABU says they can allow you to register for law without literature. I'm just giving an example. That is not the true position. I'm saying waivers are given by universities, even with JAM. As at that time, they could say you have 3 credits. They will give you admission, but on condition that before you graduate, you will give us the balance of the 2 credits.
Yes. In
the areas that we desire. They could have said so, but we're asking that after the time Obaseki got that admission, was it true by the forms he filled in 2016 and in 2020 that he qualified in 2019, 2020 to have been a degree holder or to have applied for a degree, got admission.
But if
We
you
are
ask,
saying tonight,
if you ask this question now, I remember that Obaseki, during his first tenure, was a member of the APC. Did the APC not notice this before then? And now the matter is coming up.
PDP, you heard the lawyer there talking for him who was also APC. They are all APC members who are looking for residence in PDP in order to get an ambition. But I'm saying to you, even they knew. He told you there. I'm not the one who said. He said what killed that case in 2016 was that it was time barred. The matter was raised by PDP. The person who contested in PDP is the one contesting in APC today. And that is why political migrancy and migration must be stopped, not just by the courts, but by our political class, that there should be some dignity, some decorum, some level of integrity even among robbers. There is honor even among robbers. As politicians, we must learn this kind of migratory arrangement in which people are in the morning PDP, in the evening APC, the next morning they are PDP, and we keep doing that. And that's what's bringing us to the point where we're discussing this. Like he said, and he was honest about it, that matter was brought up in 2016. And in the court, it was time barred. So the merit of the matter was never discussed. It is the first time we're discussing the matter on its merit. And we are saying the man lied on foot. And there is a price and there is a caution and a sanction in our laws for perjury. And we are saying this man lied. And that is what happened in Bayelsa. That is what happened in several other cases like Salisu Buhari in 1999. He was a speaker. He was the Speaker of the House of Reps. For lying about his age, he did not just lose the seat, he lost even sitting down there. At that time, the laws were so primitive that you could get away with anything. But Salisu Buhari lost everything till today. You no longer hear that name because of that Toronto certificate.
Yes, I remember that time. Yeah.
In the case of there is a federal house seat in Alimosho in Lagos State, where this same matter of perjury, AC and then, which is today APC, lost a member of the House and had to even use a member of Labour Party to run an election, and lost because the member sitting there lied on oaths. There are plethora of cases, and all of them know this. Like I said, in the upper chambers, at the appeal court, this matter is going to the Supreme Court. Our courts must have to help us get into quality legislation by giving us sanctions in a manner that we will not just lose their positions, they should also pay a price for doing that.
All right, I'll come back to you, Honorable Obum. Let's come to the studio. You have asked a lot of questions now. He asked you, let me start from that point. He said, I want to ask the lawyer in the studio, yes. The point of filling Form EC 1001 and the point of entry of Obaseki's certificate, was it qualified? Let's start from there.
You know, it's quite unfortunate when you hear somebody who is not a lawyer speak so confidently. I know him to be a media person, but even as an academic, you should know that for those who were educated before JAM started, they had their own mode of entry. It was either through prelim, when you have to spend at least a year, or you get in through direct entry. My late father came in through direct entry, and my dad showed me certificates. You can have more than 2 different certificates with a couple or a number of credits required for that course. So what you do, you combine both your O-level and your A-level grades. And there were even some courses where, with a D at A-level, advanced level, you could combine it with your O-level credits. And the University of Ibadan has come to say, this is our requirement. This was what Godwin Obaseki came with. He met our requirements. That is what the university has said. We were not the ones that were supposed to invite the university over a forgery they alleged, over a false declaration they alleged. But we now have to take up that responsibility because the governor is very educated. He was invited by the university to deliver the distinguished alumnus lecture, which is not meant for those that could not meet entry requirements. So when you hear a person like Festus Cletus Obum talk about, even he made a very bloody mistake by even using the Salisu Buhari example. I was very old. I was in the university when that matter came up. He was impeached as the first speaker in 1999 because he got a certificate from Toronto, which he later alluded to, and not a matter of false declaration. So when you see somebody talk here, talk there, initially they started with this story that he made a false declaration about the year. They have moved from that one to the issue of forgery. The court said it is not forgery, but they're not talking of point of entry, which the university came to resolve. And the court has agreed with the university. And that was what the judge said, and rightly too, that when a person's father is present, you don't tell the person he does not have a father. The university came to say, he's our graduate. These are the documents he filled in entering. These were the requirements. His qualification, of course, met our requirements. They even failed to produce the prospectus of the university. The person that came with everything. So we had more than enough evidence, and that is why the court in its wisdom said the plaintiff have failed to prove their case. And of course, accordingly, dismissed it. They were even lucky that the court did not dismiss it with cost. And that's the danger they will face if they go on appeal. Because it is a white goods chase. They are not talking of entry requirement. It is not the constitutional requirement. What the Constitution says, you should be educated up to school certificate level. But the governor did not stop there. He went as far as the advanced level. He didn't stop at the advanced level. He went to University of Ibadan. He studied classics. He went to Pace University in the United States and obtained a master's degree. Unlike a former governor of our state who burned down Ministry of Education when they asked for his primary school certificate, this is a governor that happens to be one of the best we've had in terms of development and in terms of qualification.
That issue of burning down the Ministry of Education, is that not allegation?
It's not an allegation because it was when the matter was in court.
Has it been proven
I can tell you that it was when the matter was in court that a mystery fire burned where we had the records of schools as it relates to certificates.
So that then
and you could not prove that he had a certificate.
By the matter, then you are assuming.
It's not an assumption because he didn't have.
No, you are assuming that he burnt the Ministry of Education.
But of course, when something is like when a witch cries at night, the following day a child dies, it's remote, but it is an allegation.
Honorable, will come to you, just allow him.
It is an allegation which, of course, was contemporaneous to the matter in court. But at the end of the day, did he present any certificate? He went on his knees begging. And eventually, till now, there's no evidence that he became governor based on the qualifications he presented. Instead, he was calling people who were with him in modern school, but there was no certificate. But this is a governor that presented all his certificates from primary school in 1971 up to when he got his master's in 1994. He's one of the governors that is the pride amongst the committee of governors in this country in terms of development. In terms of his educational background, he has a clear educational history. They were trying to ride on technicalities. You see, he's not talking of entry qualification, which even the university came to resolve. So when you are a busybody, you now dabble into issues that are mundane. But for me, it is victory for democracy. It is victory for educated people. Not just educated people, well-educated people. And it's victory for the rule of law. And he agreed with the judge that it was a well-delivered judgment. Infallible, as he said.
Yes.
You know, infallible. That's what Cletus Obens said. But his own problem is, the governor did not lie.
Let me take you. Let me,
credentials, and the university came to corroborate what the governor said.
But you cannot also take away what he said. That's the Honorable Cletus. On perjury, you are a lawyer, and I also know that you're also a lecturer in the university too.
I teach evidence.
In the university. Now he is saying that the issue of perjury, this is not about APC, it is not about PDP, it's not about Obaseki versus Izeyamu, but about the fact that something must be established. If you commit a crime,
that's what the court
you should face it.
The court said they failed to discharge the burden of proof. Perjury is a criminal offense,
yes.
And the standard of proof is proof beyond reasonable doubt. They didn't call the university, we called the university, and the university said yes, these were his qualifications. The governor was honest enough to say, I combined my O-level and A-level at that time. Cletus is a JAM category student. The governor is not a JAM category, because you have two categories of people with qualifications that have graduated from universities between the time Nigeria gained independence to date. I'm a JAM category, right? Much as I got into direct entry. But the rules have changed. During the time the governor went to university, they didn't have a JAM brochure. Cletus is consumed by this idea of JAM brochure, 5 credits. No. At that time, when the governor entered, he came in as a direct entry student, whereby you need the number of credits required, and at that time, 3 credits was what's required at the O level. Then at the A level, he also got what was required, and he combined everything. And the university has come to say, he met our entry requirements. So can Obun say that I don't have a father when my father is in court, as the judge said? The university is the owner of that document. The university gave Godwin Obaseki admission, and they said he met the entry requirements. That was one of the idle points we were raising, and that was what people like Cletus Obun spread over the social media. So we have to put a light to this. And the courts, by the grace of God, was able to put a final stop to that phantom that the governor did not meet the entry requirement of the university.
But you listened to him. He said they would take it up to the Supreme Court.
They can go anywhere. We've seen cases where people, even after the Supreme Court gave a decision, we saw it in Bayelsa and other states, they even appealed against the Supreme Court decision. So if they go on appeal, fine. But they should be ready to be slammed with cost. We'll be asking for cost. You saw how the court awarded cost against those lawyers who brought that action. I mean, it is malicious prosecution. He is saying that the governor's documents were not forged. Then what is now the basis of this white goose chase? The university said he met a requirement. So ignorance of the law, as they say, is not an excuse. Mm-hmm. It's not an excuse. The law is
all
very
right,
clear.
so let me go back to Honorable. You wanted to say something earlier on.
Yes, you know, the train of thoughts that come on, when people get outlandish about emotive actions rather than taking issues and facts. Facts are sacred, opinion is free. Facts are sacred, opinion is free. So if he can express the opinion, he's expressing. I'm a jam product like him, but an older jam product, even jam itself is being modified. I'm also a direct entry product. So I know what I'm talking about because our results were delayed. We were now asked to wait. And my father didn't want me to stay at home. I was just about 15 when I left school. So I know what I went through to get through as a direct entry student. Now, to the issues at stake, when we start talking about achievements, the best governor, I don't know how, even by educational qualifications, I challenge him now, and I hope Nigeria will get to the stage where an uneducated tailor like Adams Oshomole is brought to take on any international issue or national issues with an Obaseki who worked under him. If a man so educated works under an illiterate tailor like an Adams Oshomole, then certainly something is wrong. It was King Lear, Shakespeare's King Lear. King Lear, in fact, the Earl of Gloucester, who said that it is bad times that might make blind men to lead madmen. Blind men are being led by madmen. It is bad times that make us get into that. So if we're in that stage today, let it so be.
Okay, but Honorable, you know that is that. Sorry, before you go further, sorry, I apologize for coming in now. But you know that seems to be the reality we face in the country today. You have an uneducated senior political officer and someone who is even a PhD holder is under the person. So he's not new. So you are saying now that should stop. Is that what you're saying?
I am saying to you, did you hear me predicate my pronouncement this night to you that in our country today, I am not going to be discussing PDP and APC. I'm discussing our country today. That is a tragedy of our nation. And America is now a present and imminent example of how blind men are leading madmen. That education no longer qualifies us. Professors sit as Minister of Education. And the 20% required by the United Nations to fund education cannot be brought. And we have more strikes under professors than when we even have illiterates. So it is a tragedy and tragic reality of our present condition. In the Nigerian Senate, it is now like Patrice Lumumba will say, that it is now an assemblage of former governors. And who are the former governors? Those who have rich bank accounts, not those who have goodwill and have full at heart. So where we are now, the Obaseki dilemma, the quagmire you face in Edo State, is only a microcosm of the macro tragedy, which is that, one, we are already discussing the certificate of a man. If the man was performing after 4 years, we will be discussing him. Two, if the man had his papers, if you want to know who you are, who your father is, do you remember the Zik tragedy where somebody said Zik's father was from Zengeru? You remember that?
Yes,
and somebody was clapped with that. You remember that when he's telling me about with DNA today? Can you just say with pride and beat your chest and say this is my child with DNA today? Now you keep making these references. You must deal with the modern realities. That JAM and the admission processes at that time. We are saying you lied because we are not saying you didn't go to school. In any case, the qualification to be president of Nigeria is that INEC should sit you down ask you 2-3 questions and say, write them down. Once you can write it, and INEC certify that you can read and write, it's a qualification in Nigeria to be president in Nigeria. That's what we are. That is the reality of our constitution.
But that's why there is this call for amendments to Constitution and the Electoral Act.
Yes. We must get to that point. That is because the lesser read are in control of the better read. I didn't go to lecture in the university for people who I taught to come and teach me how to take care of my people. That is wickedness. That is witchcraft. We cannot revert all of nature. Why did Solomon ask for wisdom? And we come here today and he's a lecturer, a young lecturer, coming up. He should be of the progressive wing. Today, out of convenience, it is for him to sit in the studio and say, Obaseki did this, Obaseki did that. If tomorrow that Obaseki says, this boy who have been talking too much for me, he can no longer be here because he will overthrow me. This very lawyer sitting with you there now, addressing my very young brother, who will talk a lot, will tell you that he becomes immediately a demon. We must have principles that are sustainable and obtaining, that can take us beyond food on the table and bread and butter politics. We must go beyond that. And where we are now is that Obaseki lied, and the court was so pronounced. Not that he need not leave. Even after him, we should no longer have this kind of situation in which people come and lie brazenly and get away with it. In which people come, do not go to school. Nobody asks you to go to school to be a governor. All you need is to show that you can read and write. And you now come and say, I have a certificate, I am qualified. But this is where we are.
Honorable Abum, you listen to the lawyer. He has explained to you that the governor didn't lie. Rather, this was the situation. If as at that time, he didn't need to go for JAM for him to get admission, and 3 credits was accepted by the University of Ibadan.
Please, Idama, let me make this point. He's not the one who said it. Before I started, I said, 1973-74, when Obaseki went to school, there was no JAM. I said so. Places like University of Georgia, University of Calabar, and others were produced in 1975. That was the second generation university. But this was the first generation university, University of Ibadan, 1948. 1948, University of Ibadan, first brought from the UK as a colonial master, first university in Nigeria. University of Nigeria and Suka, 1962. We cannot be talking about JAM at that point. We are saying you didn't need to tell that you have 5 credits. All you need to say is that, look, I had 2 credits when I went for higher school, I got admission, and I had 3 credits, A, B, C, in my higher school, my 2 credits were in the lower. That's all you need to state in the JAM form. You don't need to say I had 5 credits or 2 credits. If I even have F9 to the 9th power, you qualify today to be a Nigerian president. That is what our constitution says.
Okay, but Honorable Abum, you know that they called the school, the registrar of the school was in court, and the court cross-examined the man, and this very Obaseki lied. Did the school say yes, that he didn't complete or he didn't submit the complete requirements for him to be a student and qualify for any qualification in the school?
Let me say this to you. I speak here first as an academic and as a journalist. The 2 professions I belong to requires truth, the ground norm. Truth is the search of every academic, and journalism is the search for truth. Now, I'm telling you that Obaseki lied on oath, that he swore to the court and brought papers. He's not saying there was a photocopy error and all that kind of technicality. I ask you, from the point of photocopying to the court, which is what happened to them, and change of order of names, Gani for Gani, this for that, and then you now say it is right. A man answers the name he bears. Today, as we speak, will you say validly that between the photocopying machine and the point of filling the form and taking to INEC, that Obaseki didn't see that they omitted the signature of that man? And I don't want to say that the university was compromised. I don't want to get to that level, because that is another discussion for another day, that what our academics are today. You see professors, will you say this of Professor Chinua Achebe or Professor Wole Soyinka, who stands today at the front of what, in the front of bullets, stands for his country? Will you say that about some of these people? That is not what I want to discuss. What I'm saying, that for our country to move forward, our judges who are part of us must give us a jurisprudence, a legal system. When you say I'm not a lawyer, do I need to be a lawyer to know that you lied? That I sat down and saw you carry this and a lawyer comes and says, say this, and you say it. So it changes the opinion. That is why when you go to every community, they say you want to give this man, they say you cannot. You don't have any proof, but the community says this man and his family is what they are. This man and his family, the community knows everybody, and everybody knows everybody. So where we are now, things we are now dealing with the modern world. See the coup that Trump gets. We say the best democracy in the world. We'll report it to America. Will they please report Trump to Buhari today? Let them report Trump to Buhari that he's a brigand, he planned a coup in America. Because what he did there was a coup. Today, will Nigerian lawyers, Nigerian Democrats and progressives, will these people who were opposing and reporting and asking for UN, have they called UN to go to America today? Look at what Trump is doing to America and democracy, the home of democracy. So I'm telling you that we are going to the court. If nothing else, to prove that this country cannot proceed on the basis of this falsehood.
All right.
What
All right.
It's not about Buhari, it's not about APC, it's not about PDP. It is about Nigeria that we want,
Okay.
the Nigeria we desire. And
All
that's
right.
what I speak about this night.
Okay, Honorable, I'll come back again. I'll come back to you so you can give us your parting word. But let's take it from, would you say that from the point of filling that form, you didn't notice that it was a photocopy, there's a photocopy error before submitting it to INEC? That's where he's coming from.
Yeah, I think he's confused because he talks about entry qualification. He mentioned Gano Adu's case, and briefly I'll talk about that case. Of course, the court said he lied or not. The Edo State High Court on Wednesday disqualified both Isayama and his running mate. Just the same way in Bayelsa, the Supreme Court said, when a deputy governor makes a false declaration within the meaning of Section 31, sub 5 and 6 of the Electoral Act, it affects the joint ticket. So as we speak in law, the APC ticket did not exist. And I've said it severally. You cannot say you have 4 different names in 4 different qualifications. That's the height of it. Fraud. So when he talks about the governor's case, in one breath, he said, oh, very beautiful decision. The issue of the certificate, it now goes back to the issue of photocopy. You know, victory gives you coherence. When you lose, you are defeated. You lose your coherence. I've spoken to my brother very well. At different fora we have spoken, but I doubt if that has cleared his album because he has said many things and it's difficult to make sense from what he has been saying. In one breath, he commended the judgment on the issue of the certificate. It still goes back to the issue of photocopy. Between an original and a photocopy, which do you think the court will accept? In Ayade's case, the Supreme Court resolved the issue. That in the case of forgery, it is the original you look at. Can you forge a document from nothing? You can, of course. It's the original. And it is even what Lord Dennis said in USA Mark 4, that you cannot put something upon nothing and expect it to stay there. It will collapse. They came with a phantom. Oh, the governor did not have a certificate. The moment the governor's certificate came, they became confused. They now started talking about entry requirements, which of course the university resolved. That yes, he met our entry requirement. So he's a busybody. If the university that admitted him said he met their requirement, who is a Cletus Obum in Ogoja to now say that the University of Ibadan was wrong in saying that Godwin Obaseki met the requirement, he graduated in 1979, and that is why he was invited to deliver the Distinguished Alumnus Lecture. It's not meant for ordinary people. It's not a question of if you retired the University of Calabar or you resigned from the University of Calabar to go into politics. This is a man that came from the private sector. First time he contested an election, he won. Defeated Izayamu. Izayamu thought that it was party. Izayamu joined the party, he left APC. He defeated him, even after they wrongfully disqualified him. It was a witch hunt. Because when God is with you, no man can be against you. It's a biblical injunction. And they say one with God is majority. He even talked about the issue of performance. If the governor did not perform to the satisfaction of Edo people, would Edo people have given him the kind of mandate they gave him? Himself and Izayamu contested in Edo South, where both of them come from. In the 7 local governments from Edo South, the 8 local governments from Edo South, you discover the governor defeated Izayamu back to back. In his local government, he defeated him. That is the beauty of the democracy. He won this election with a margin of over 84,000 votes. That is democracy. So when we say it's victory for democracy, it means that when you get into power with a popular mandate, nobody can either go through a back door or even, as we saw in this case, through the PG hole. You cannot enter a car through the PG hole. It does not make sense. So for them to say they want to go to the Supreme Court, that is all the appeal court. That is why the courts are there. And we'll even get there before they get there. Because we know that it is their stock in trade. Every election cycle, after losing elections, they run to court. They have donors, and I only pity for their donors. But there are people who donated this mandate to Godwin Obaseki, came all out to jubilate, because it was not just victory for democracy in Nigeria, but it re-emphasizes that liberation. The problem we've always had is godfatherism. It started with an act of disqualifying somebody that was rightfully considered by his party, by a group of persons, a cabal, and at some point, they forced him out of his party. They thought that without the APC, he would not win. He went to the PDP, he defeated them in a landslide. And that is why now they are still talking of going to the Court of Appeal. We'll meet them there. The original has been presented. The trial court gave a beautiful decision, which my friend Cletus Obun had commended, but I'm surprised he now made a 360-degree turnaround. He's now saying that the issue of entry qualification, which was also resolved by the university through the deputy registrar, who was even cross-examined by the plaintiff's lawyer. So if a court has given a decision as beautiful as this, and a court had previously said the APC didn't have a candidate, it therefore means that on what basis would they now appeal this decision when they were not even candidates in that election? It's a serious food for thought. But as I will always say, Edo people and the governor have what I call a social contract. And that social contract was renewed on September 19th. So by Monday, the governor continues with his work, for which Edo people gave him their mandate. And all these distractions, if they choose to continue with the appeal, we'll meet them in court.
All right, let me go to Cletus. I'm taking you back to the High Court judgment on Wednesday, where the court disqualified the APC candidates because of another certificate issue. I think that should be the, I think so.
Yes.
Yes, another certificate issue.
4 different names.
Yes, the deputy governorship candidate of the APC was disqualified, and that in turn disqualified the APC from even being having a candidate in the election. What do you have to say about this?
I'll tell you, I will not be distracted and focused at the same time. I will give you this foundation. One, that the case in Edo State was meant to foreground what happened in Abuja. That is to say, simply, that it was to give the Abuja court an impetus. And that is what exactly played out. The case in Edo is even more ridiculous. Because, I mean, we are talking about Gani's name. And the Supreme Court has made several rulings on those matters about how it should go and what names should be and what names constitute. But in the case that he is talking about now, saying that I'm being inconsistent, I made the point that to the extent that the University of Ibadan brought a certificate and said, this is our student, I will give this certificate, that judgment is invalid. I said so. That pronouncement was the basis of the degree certificate. And I said, in case of lying on oath, you may not even be discussing the issue of whether you went to school or not. We are saying, as at the point you swore on oath and got that stamp from the Commissioner of Oath that this is my paper, and it is proven that between that stamped paper, what do you call certified true copy? If a certified true copy and the original are compared, we are saying if this original is not here, this P is certified, which is there for the true copy. If the two are now to be juxtaposed, which one comes first? Which one did you put forward? If you put this and the other one contradicts the other, then something is fundamentally wrong. Those contradictions by any court of law have probative value. The lawyer sitting there, I don't need to be a lawyer, like I said, to say so. I'm sufficiently in front of the court, especially being an academic. He should know that he doesn't need to be an English lecturer or a chemistry lecturer to know that an alkaline and an acid will neutralize the other. You don't need to be a student of chemistry to know that, even if you're an English student. That to neutralize an acid, you need an alkaline. Now, in this case, you had a situation in Edo State in which a judge looks at Gani and Ganil and says the two are different. There are 5 different names in 5 different. We will see the papers in the appeal court. But let me not get away from this issue we are discussing this night.
But you remember that this also happened in Bayelsa State. It seemed it was just a similar issue of what happened in Edo on Wednesday and that which happened in Bayelsa, that your party was also disqualified.
This is the point we are making. That our jurisprudence have to be corrected to put the people's interest above this. The intentment of the law, which is what we call the spirit of the law, must be read above the letters of the law. That Nigeria or any democracy is dependent on the people. After the Bayelsa election, nobody, even PDP, queried the conduct of that election, that it was violent, it was rigged. Nobody questioned it. From the blues, we saw that judgment. And what that meant, that the people's will was vitiated on our reason by a red pen from a judge. We are saying that our jurisprudence must get beyond that point, that the people's will must at all times prevail. If, for example, he's telling us today that though people voted for an Obaseki, fine and good, and in Bayelsa, the people voted for Lion. And today, we are sitting here to discuss the people's will, where he won all the 8 or 7 local governments in Southern Edo. And the man who won in the entire 8 local governments of Bayelsa State was thrown out on account deputy. And today we are saying even the man himself has this kind of case. You are telling the judges that they should not look at that, they should look at the votes. I am saying to you this night that Nigerians must take a decision about the people's will against the elite decisions and opinions, where public opinion is supposed to be the elite opinion. That must change, and the people's will represented by their votes must take place. So when you say he doesn't understand me, it is because the genuine information and facts available to him today, as I reveal them, were unknown to him, because they have been living in one false corner of imagining that the whole truth resides in their mouth, because they have the media space to do so with the power of incumbency. We are dealing with a Nigeria that we need for tomorrow, not just today in the name of Obaseki. But the worst you can do is 4 years. 4 years is not 40 years. The children of Israel wander for 40 years. They are today liberated. We may wander for 4 years in Edo State. We may wander for 4 years or 8 years in Bayelsa. But the Nigeria of our dream is more than 8 years. And we must look for that Nigeria.
Now, Honorable Obum, before I let you go, from what he said, the Wednesday court judgment is still there. If you are appealing this one, and I know that your party has already gone to appeal that case too. If you are appealing this one, the one for Saturday, the one for Obaseki's certificate forgery, what does that mean? If that stands and you go for appeal and the appeal court says APC does not have candidates because of the deputy governor, that means, can you pursue this one?
That's a presumption. You are overreaching the issues. We are saying we are appealing the case that you didn't have to say what you said in Edo State, because those judges and what is happening there, we are now aware. We are fully aware. What we are doing is opening the political space and the judicial space for Nigeria to explore and discover the real potential of what they stand to gain or lose by the kind of institutions that they produce. So if in Edo State we challenge that appeal to say that deputy governor certificate they are talking about, like you say now, if the school now comes out to say, we gave this man this certificate, these are his names, if this name changes, it is the same person we are talking about. The issue is, can he read and write, can he do this? That is not where we are now. He didn't lie that these are his names. He came out and said, these are my names. Whether you say Gani or Ganil, they are my names. And the school didn't say this is not the person that's out, because the passport is on the WAEC certificate. It's on the you have an album that WAEC keeps in Ghana. WAEC keeps that certificate, those passports in Ghana from the inception of WAEC till today. They are there. Can we go there and check whether the face matches with the name and if the names are different? It's just a matter of mere name. So if that is the case, then we have no case in Edo State. In the Edo State government case on Wednesday. In the case of the Abuja case, we are saying, fine, you went to school, you are a best graduate, you have Harvard, everything. But when you were filling this form, you lied to show that you were qualified. That is the point we are making. It's a criminal matter. And they say you should prove your case beyond reasonable doubt, not beyond shadow of doubt, what the courts are asking us to do in the case of perjury. I didn't say in the case of the degree. I maintain that the university having said we gave this degree, they are correct, and the judge is correct to say, having been accepted by the university as degree, we are now saying when you went in there, what was your case? And what did you present in all cases?
All right.
What did you present in 2016?
Okay, thank you.
When the issue of the NYC came up, he went and corrected it. Have we challenged it anymore? We didn't. We said, fine, NYC proving that this is your certificate. That means you even got the degree. We only pushed them to come and confirm that you went to the investigator without the appropriate, and you lied at the point of entry. That is the point we are making. Perjury. That's what we are. Let the court tell us that. Let it be on record that Nigerian courts none at anybody to do anything and get away with it.
All right, Honorable Cletus.
Whichever way it goes, that is where we are.
All right, Honorable Cletus, I would like to say thank you very much for your time and also your contributions on the program tonight. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Ratai General.
Then I've told you many times, I am not Rasta. I'm a woman, though I am not Rasta. I'm very, very responsible.
Rastas are not responsible for Rastafarianism.
All right, thank you, Honorable. Thank you very much. Now, let's quickly go to bring you reactions. A reporter in Benin City, the Edo State capital, sent in reactions after the court judgment.
It was excitement and jubilation galore at the private residence of the Edo State Deputy Governor Philip Shaibu shortly after the Federal High Court in Abuja affirmed the eligibility of Governor Godwin Obaseki to contest the September 19th governorship election as against the claim by the APC that the governor forged his certificate that he presented to INEC.
We are happy that light has overcome darkness, and darkness will never come surface in Edo again. The end of godfatherism has been re-established by the verdict of today, and I can tell you development is all over Edo and it will continue.
Other chieftains of the PDP, who include the immediate past Speaker of the Edo State House of Assembly, Frank Okiye, who expressed joy at the ruling by the Federal High Court, commended the judiciary for standing firm.
It would be ridiculous for anybody to imagine that Governor Obaseki forged his certificate. And these deliberate enemies of progress just thought it, as a weapon of distraction. It is high time they collapse all this struggle of, rigging, wrestling power through the back door and join forces with the government to develop our common state. It's our dear state.
It's so sad in our state that some persons believe that having lost election, they could go behind and use the back door to steal the mandate of the people. But the truth is that it is the people that determine who leads them, who governs them. And Edo people have spoken with one voice that Obaseki is the governor for the next 4 years.
This victory is victory for Edo people. I want to thank the judiciary for doing the needful.
The state deputy governor also has these words for the immediate past national chairman of APC and former governor of the state, Adams Oshomole.
Comrade Adams Oshomole came home boasting that he was going to do what he did in Imo. And we're asking, what did he do in Imo? And some of them were telling us that he said he was instrumental to the judgment of Imo. And I was going to do the same thing that he did in Imo, in Edo. And we reminded him that first, Edo was not Lagos during the election. And that during this judicial process too, Edo will not be Imo. Because we have a courageous judiciary. If we did not have a courageous judiciary, Oshomole would have been a governor of Edo State. And he benefited from the judiciary. He wants to destroy the name of the judiciary. God forbid.
Meanwhile, the publicity secretary of the APC in the state, Chris Azibame, who spoke to me via telephone, said the party will wait for their team of lawyers to decide on the next line of action. The victory of Governor Godwin Obaseki has laid to rest the alleged certificate forgery saga, pending when or if the APC will go to a higher court to challenge the ruling of the Federal High Court. Uhioze Inarume, AIT News, Benin.
All right, that's from our reporter in Benin City. But let's quickly take one or two messages. I have this one coming from Ehimari Maike. He says, congratulations to our amiable governor. More grease to your able as you move Edo State forward. And also going ahead further, this one from Hills at Huzi Hills. He said, instead of them to clear the public, it has original certificate. They use dismiss. Why? And we also, this one is coming from Ikechi Innocent. He's tweeting. He said, I appreciate the courts for not allowing itself to be thwarted into becoming an object of political drama. It's high time non-political cases started receiving fast hearing and judgment too. Many people have spent more than what their jail term is supposed to be, still awaiting trial. Oyem Solomon is tweeting. He said, it was just a distraction. Congratulations to Governor Obaseki. And I have this one coming from Makil Daniel. Makil Daniel says, it's okay, court will rush over election matters, but when it comes to human rights abuses, it will take them 20 years. For example, the human rights abuse over the thief people in Taraba State. So many tweets congratulating Governor Obaseki. Then Monday, Amodeni is saying, it's quite applaudable. Obaseki can now concentrate. God bless Edo. God bless Nigeria. Well, that's how we will take it for now. Okay, let's, before we go, let's just hear from you, your parting word.
Yeah, I think today for us, it's another day of victory. And as we say, the mandate is to develop Edo State. It's not just a victory for the governor, but for all Edo people. We are still calling on our friends on the other side, even if they choose to go to the appeal court, to realize that the greatest victim of this distraction is development. Even their donors know too that the money they put into this litigation brings no development to Edo people. And the governor has assured Edo people that he will continue with his very good works because the facts were on the side, the law was on the side, and finally the court has decided this issue once and for all on its merits.
All right, thank you very much, Barrister Andrew Emata. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for
That's
having
the much we can take on the program tonight. Remember to join us again tomorrow at 10 p.m. for another episode of the program. Good night.